This is the Byzantine Coin Podcast, where we celebrate and discuss all things numismatic from the Byzantine era of the Roman Empire. My name is Kyle Bolin, and this is episode 23. Today, we are going to talk about New York International and the show that took place last week in New York City. It's my favorite show of the year. I want to go through the CNG Triton results for their Byzantine coinage and look at some of the hammers there, and then look at some other coins that hammered in some of the other New York sales that I found interesting, and hopefully you will too. So we've got a lot to go over, so let's dive right in. So, uh, New York International. It's always great going and seeing all the people in the industry, seeing friends from the Facebook group from Ancient and Medieval Coins, seeing friends from the Byzantine Coin group on Facebook, and seeing friends from the Ancient Discord server as well. Great community of people, great meeting people in person. I had a lot of great conversations, shared some laughs, had a few drinks, and it's just an awesome event to network and see the people that you talk to sort of online all the time, as well as all the premier dealers are there. I mean, New York International is typically anything that's not at auction is usually dealers are bringing their best stuff to New York. It's a big money show. Dealers make millions of dollars at that show sometimes. There's a lot of big money clients that come in for it. I got there on, let's see, it was Thursday, and I got the early bird and got checked in. This is the first time I stayed at the actual hotel that it was at the Intercontinental. Typically, I'm a Marriott guy and I try to chase my points, but surrounding hotels were on the expensive side. So I got the group rate at the Intercontinental. What a nice hotel. Expensive hotel, but very nice. I got there on Thursday, and I sort of had a plan as to what I wanted to try and do and what I wanted to see. I didn't have any specific targets this time around. I thought my experience there is, from a Byzantine coin standpoint, that the selections were very. It was there wasn't a lot. There wasn't a lot for me. It was much more of a networking event for me and spending time with like-minded people. But from looking for Byzantine gold and bronze and silver, boy, I wasn't finding much. And the stuff that was there, I mean, there were certain dealers that had their typical stock, but it's stock that I've already seen. Um, I found that if there was a dealer that had a solid eye or something like that, it was typically in some sort of slab, and it was very common and it was extraordinarily expensive. Let's take a Justin the First Solidus in a like AU holder. It's just run of the mill, let's call it. Maybe it had a brushed on it or something like that. The dealers were looking for like $1,600 for something like that, $1,700. The coins that were available in the CNG fixed price list, I thought were a bit pricey, but they seemed to be selling. The Nomos had a fixed price list as well with some really quality stuff. I thought their prices were expensive, but on the reasonable side of expensive. And yeah, I don't know. I just didn't find as much as I usually find. And I think that has a lot to do with a couple things, right? I think most gold coins are getting hoovered up. And you see that in dealer stock. Like if I went to see Nick Economopoulos or Keith Candiati, they have stuff that they had in previous years, but they're not adding things because they're not able to get it at a good price anymore. Um, and gold is just getting swallowed up. I think last I checked, it was north of $4,800. Silver's at $90. And I think this has there's a lot of factors on this. especially with silver because there's industrial uses on it. Um, but I think that it has a lot to do with inflation. It has a lot to do with fiat money. It has a lot to do with the destabilization of the global order that has dominated the Western world for the last, since World War II. And I think that there is, I don't want to say, the dollar has always been the reserve currency, and that has been allowed the United States government to spend way over their means and to incur a whole lot of debt. And in my opinion, not that this, I don't want to make this political. This is not a political podcast. But in my opinion, the debt that the United States has is its Achilles heel. And that debt is because Europe buys dollars. It's the reserve currency, and I think that there is some hedging going on based on some of the geopolitical stuff that's happening. I mean, Greenland, my God, it's just ridiculous. Um, but anyway, I think that's a big driver of gold and silver prices. Now, I think gold and silver could continue to go up 50, 100%. Who knows? I mean, at this point, it's a momentum trade. So people are just jumping in. And typically, when they're jumping in, it's on margin and everything else like that. So I don't see these prices being sustainable. I think, they can certainly still go up depending on what's happening over the next couple of years. But I really think that uh, eventually things will settle down one way or the other, and you'll see a major correction, specifically in silver. I think silver will fall back quite a bit. Gold will fall back, but it hasn't had the same rise that silver has. And I think this is driving, I mean, this is driving everything in numismatics right now. The numismatic premium is taken off the table on pre-1933 gold coins that were common. There used to be a numismatic premium. Dealers are buying things at melt or below melt because I think that they're concerned too, right? They don't want to be sitting there holding a whole bunch of stock and all of a sudden silver corrects 30%, um, or gold corrects, right? Uh, so I think that things will settle down eventually, and I hope that they do because it's made finding quality coins difficult because they're so expensive right now. So there was not a lot of Byzantine gold out there. I mean, there was some. Shanna had her stock, and she had a lot of options. A lot of them I've seen already, and she's got great coins. Um, Sovereign had their stock, and they had some newer stuff that I hadn't seen before, and they've got great coins. Keith Candiotti had his stock, and he has great coins. But I just wasn't finding it as much as I had in the past. So that was sort of disappointing. Um, I bought two bronze coins. One had pedigree to it was a pedigree to the Burke England sale in 1989, and another one was that one was a Carthaginian Justin, I believe, Deccanumi. I have to go back and look at it. I should know that, but I don't know it off the top of my head. And then I also bought a phallus of Anastasius the First, which I probably overpaid on, but I kind of liked it, and I was sort of bummed because I wasn't finding anything to buy. So those were my two acquisitions. The first day on Thursday is always great. I got there sort of later in the afternoon. I got a later start than I would have liked, and it was quieter. So it was good because I sort of missed that morning rush and was able to have good conversations with the dealers I was talking to and getting an idea of what was going on with them and what they're seeing in the market. That night was the ANA Gala. Again, I was a guest of the folks at Nomos. They invited me to go. It was at the Harvard Club this year, and it's really sort of this industry gala event where everybody from the industry attends. It's to benefit the ANS. It was a really nice event. I'm so lucky to be invited to go. It was great to socialize there and talk with the different attendees there. I mean, the greatest collectors in the world were in attendance. The ANS is moving from New York City to Toledo, Ohio. And they're attaching themselves to the Toledo Art Museum. And the Toledo Art Museum is a world-class institution. There's no doubt about it, right? But man, does Toledo feel provincial to me. And if you're from Toledo and you're listening to this, I'm sorry. For me, it's like I don't think I'll ever go to the ANS. I don't know that I'll ever be in Toledo. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I've gone to the ANS in New York City several times and viewed their collection as well as accessed their library. They have a tremendous auction catalog library as well as reference library that's open to both members and non-members. I think non-members have to pay a fee, and I will miss that once it's gone. So they made the decision. I'm sure it was an economic decision. New York City is not a cheap place to live and pay people and pay rent. And Toledo is probably a little bit better. And I think they'll have a lot more space to do different events and different uh, displays as they go through. So, I think everybody at the ANS is excited about it. At least that's what they're projecting. I'm sort of sad that they're leaving New York City. But the gala was great. It raised a lot of money for the ANS. There was a silent auction, and it was just great to be able to meet some of the major collectors out there and talk coins and talk what's your specialty. And I've said this before. I go to these events from time to time for my real job, and I've learned pretty quickly not to bring up the fact that I collect the ancient coins, specifically Byzantine coins, uh, because nobody cares or nobody's interested. And you can just watch people's eyes glaze over as you're talking to them. So, it's a really nice thing to be at an event like that with like-minded people. So thank you to the team at Nomos for inviting me to that. It was a great time. On Friday, I went back to the Bourse and walked around still, and it was pretty dejected. I did a viewing of, I was dejected because I just wasn't finding anything at any of the tables, right? Again, I was in a good mood, and it was good to talk with everybody. I want to clarify that. Um, I went to view some of the lots at the upcoming Stack's Bowers auction and look at some things. Um, I went through their auction. What's fascinating about Stacks? So Stacks, they're a machine, right? They're sucking in coins from all different collections, all different collecting focuses, US coins, ancient coins, world coins. They slab them and they put them in their auctions, and they've got a lot of eyes on those auctions, right? But what was interesting is when I went to go look at the coins, most of them had some sort of pedigree attached, and it wasn't listed in any of the stacks auctions. Um, and I found that sort of really surprising because I feel like pedigree is such a value add. But I guess given the level of volume that they have um, and how big they are, like I said, they're a machine. I guess that it's not part of what they do. They list it based on how it's slabbed and they move on. I mean, none of the pedigree was crazy, but I mean, I found a coin that I had no intention of bidding on. I looked at it and looked on the back, and it was a plate coin from Lacom, and I had no idea, and it was not listed. I mean, and I think a plate coin is a serious value add. So I was really surprised by that. Now, I couldn't see any of the pedigree. The pedigree was taped up, so I had to sort of see what I could see without pulling the coin flip apart with the tags in it. But it's always great to, if you can, view the coins before the auction because you're able to see them in hand. You can see if they're bigger or smaller, flan size. if it's flashy in hand versus on the photograph, it's really important. You have a number of dealers that do this kind of thing, and they go to the auctions and they view coins as a service for their clients. And I can see why. I mean, you want a practiced eye looking at stuff to look for issues or flaws or different things with the coin, or things that are hidden like pedigree, or maybe it's super flashy in hand, and so it's an important thing to do. So I did that on Saturday, and I identified some targets in the stack sale, and then did some bidding in stacks. It was the first live auction I ever attended. It was pretty quiet, but again, that was eye-opening because there were times where coins would come up, and somebody in the room would just hold up their paddle, and then somebody in the internet would bid, and they never took the paddle down. So you knew they were going to bid no matter what was going through, or they were going to buy that coin up to a certain point. Um, so that's sort of thing is you don't see when you're watching the auctions online. You don't see the audience, and typically the audience is players or major dealers representing major players. So that was fascinating. And then I got tired of that, and I had my targets, and I went to dinner and bid from the bar at this little Italian restaurant on some things. Um, on Saturday, again, I did the Bourse for a little bit, and I did some final things. I consigned some stuff, um, and there was a meeting of the Association of Dedicated Byzantine Collectors. I've been in these meetings before. Sometimes they present some interesting stuff. They I've been a member there, but they don't really send out. There's not like a community. If there is, I'm not a part of it, put it that way. But they did a nice presentation on imperial portraiture on Byzantine coins. Some of it was sort of pedestrian, but that's good. I think there was a fair amount of people that were attending that meeting to sort of learn. So it was interesting, and I did that, and then I said my goodbyes to some people, and I caught the train home. So overall, New York International was did not disappoint from a networking and perspective, and from you know strengthening those friendships that are already there online. I had some great conversations with different people at the bars or at dinners and stuff like that. So it was really cool from that perspective. Not a lot of Byzantine coins there that were that interesting. So that's my review of New York International. Gold and silver prices continue their roller coaster shot upwards, and I think that is certainly bleeding into the ancient coin market a little bit on things. So um, let's take a look at Triton 29, 55 lots. No, I have early medieval on here too because there's two I want to look at. So I can't remember how many lots there are. But lot 920 was this Anastasius the First Solidus. It's 20 millimeters, 4.39 grams. It's in a mint state, 505, 405 clipped holder. This sold for $1,650. I like this coin. I like the portrait on it. I actually think that this probably would have done better out of the slab. I think the clip notation uh, that just brings it down. This is the rarer type with the cross on the helmet of the emperor. It is a nice portrait, very nice. 4.39 grams. I think this should have been taken out of the slab, but that's how I would have done it because it's a big flan. If you look at this, yeah, that's on a pretty good size flan. So and it looks really quite nice. So I think 1650. hammer is good, is okay for this, but I mean, I could see this going for 2250 easily enough, right? So I think that yeah, I think that that could have gone for a little bit more if it had been out of plan. But it's a nice example on this. Lot 921 is a Justin the second solidus, 21.5 millimeters. So on a big flan, 4.47 grams, full weight. It's uncertain if you've seen ya. This is a brokerage. Well, no, not a brokerage coin. This is sort of an error coin um, where it's been struck twice. People like these error coins. I don't. To me, this does nothing for me, but people like these, and this is a pretty common coin. Um, and it sold for $1,900. So I think that's a pretty strong price for this coin for this type. Next coin is lot 922, Justin the second, solidus, 20.5 millimeters, 3.74 grams. This is a lightweight solidus of 20 silica. These are rare with the OBXX in the exerg. Condition wise, this sort of sucked. It was sort of a weak strike, and there's some scratches in the fields here, or maybe that's graffiti. But these are super rare. The OBXX, the 20 silic ones are super rare. Um, this hammered for $3,000, and I'm not surprised on that. But I could also see in the wrong auction, I could see that getting missed, and nobody paid attention to it, and you could get it pretty cheap too. But uh, as I said, the OBXX 20 siliqua lightweight versions are very rare. Lot 923, Tiberius II, solidus, 20.5 millimeters. It's in a choice AU holder, 3 of 5, 3 of 5, and it's 4.42 grams. This one had some serious pedigree. Wasn't really I mean, it was a poor strike, poor portrait. Yeah, but it had some serious pedigree on it. This is, uh, let's see, ex Andre Constantine Demetriadis collection, which he had a tremendous Byzantine collection and late Roman collection that sold in, I think, 2014. This was ex important collection of Byzantine coins from Sotheby's in 1998. Uh, a vast majority of that auction was Harlan Burke's personal collection. Um, and he plated a lot of it in his book, Roman Gold Coins of the Medieval World. And this was plated as well. And this seems to be also from the Vecchi Bonham sale. I don't know if I'm saying if it's Bonham. I think it's Bonham. Um, I don't know if it's more French than English, but Vecchi Bonham sale in 1980, which is a very famous Byzantine coin sale, late Roman and Byzantine coin sale. So it has outstanding pedigree. It just doesn't have a lot of great eye appeal. This is a consular bust. The consular busts are rarer for Tiberius II. They only issued them the first year of his reign. Um, so it's a it's a cool coin. It's just condition wise, it's not awesome. Now, it sold for $1,500. I think, given the pedigree, I think that's a pretty good pickup for $1,500. You know, given some of the condition issues, and if it didn't have the pedigree, I think it would be more like a $800 or $900 coin. Even the fact that this is a rare type, but uh, outstanding pedigree on that for sure. I mean, it's connected to three of the greatest Byzantine collections that have been put together in the 20th century. So that's pretty cool. Lot 924, Maurice Tiberius, Solidus, 20.5 millimeters, 4.41 grams. This was an outstanding example. These are common, but the strike on this is perfection. It's well centered. It's the right weight. There is a little ding on that, but on the edge at 8 o'clock, but that's sort of nitpicking. I mean, this is a really superior example. These I would say in the current environment, between eight and $900. This is a superior example. This was a strong hammer for this though at $1,700. Next up, lot 925, Maurice Tiberius again, solid as 21 millimeters, 4.45 grams. This is in a mint state 5 of 5, 4 of 5 holder. Um, there doesn't seem to be any notations on it, which is good. Let's take a look at it. My computer is running a little slow today. Anyway, this coin, once it comes up, it's nice and it's in the right holder, but it wasn't as nice as the other one, and it didn't command the same amount of money. It went hammered for 1450, which I think is still a strong hammer for this. I think these are common coins, right? There's nothing about these that sets them apart. They made a lot of them, and it wasn't too long ago that you could get one for $600 or $700. Now, of course, gold has gone up and things have changed a little bit, but I still would feel comfortable buying something like this around $800 or $900 if I needed to buy one. And chances are you don't because they're super common. Anyway, 1450 is a strong price. Lot 926, this is a focus quarter silica of 120 NUMI. I don't know a lot about these, but it seems to be a nice example and hammered for $1,400. Lot 927 is a Hercules solidus, 21 millimeters, 4.33 grams, a little light. This is apparently a very rare officina with a delta. It's got uh, it's got some nice toning to it, and it's got a really nice portrait. A little doubling on the reverse. Um, but these are common coins too. Now, yeah, the officina is rare. Does that matter to most people? No, but it's good that they called that out, I think. This didn't have much pedigree. It's from an Excadori sale in 2020. I think $1,900 is a very strong price for this. Again, these are common coins. I think that you could get one, maybe not necessarily with the Delta Officina, but for between $700 and $900. Lot 928, another Hercules. This is a lightweight solidus of, let's see, 22 siliqua, 4.09 grams. These are sort of on the rarer side too. And you see OB plus star in the exerg. Well centered, decent strike, some weakness on the obverse in between, let's say, 6 and 8 o'clock. But these are pretty cool coins. I thought $1,400 was where right around where this should have gone for. I could see it going for a little less. I mean, if you look at it, there is graffiti and a scratch in the field here on the reverse. I don't consider that distracting graffiti. If it's in, first of all, I mean, for the most part, you don't really look at the reverse on these coins, but when you do, if it's in the field like that, it's not the end of the world, um, and it's a well struck example. So I think if you bought this coin at $1,400, you did well. Next up, lot 929, Hercules again with his son Constantine III. This is an uncertain Eastern military mint issue. These can be bid into the stratosphere sometimes, sometimes not. This one went for 1550. I think that's fair for this. That's a nice strike. Really nice strike. Um, yeah, so I think 1550 is a good price. I mean, I've seen these go for like $3,000 sometimes on things. So, next up is a lot nine is lot 930. It's a Justinian the second first reign, eighth Siliqua Numi from the Roman mint near EF. I mean, I guess that's just how these things looked. I don't really know a lot about these things. When we did the Triton review, Sam did know quite a bit about these. This sold, I think, for a pretty strong hammer. Although I don't know what comparables are on these, but $8,500 as a hammer on this. These are very rare. Um, so I think that was a good result. But again, I don't know what the comps are. The comps could be like 12,000, and then it wouldn't have been a good result. But this is not a coin I probably would have bought. I mean, these things are 8 millimeters, 0.29 grams. I mean, you could sneeze and that coin is gone. So, and it just doesn't have. I don't think it has a great eye appeal. I mean, I've never been a fan of the littles, right? Just because you really need a magnifying glass to look at them. I mean, some of the stuff that they do on these little flans is exceptional art, but from an eye appeal standpoint, it just doesn't get me that well. Lot 931 is a Philippicus solidus, 19 millimeters, 4.27 grams. This is on a lighter weight coin. It is a superior um, portrait and engraving on the dies. I mean, really fine style dies, and a really great strike. Almost the full legend on it, and no real marks or anything on the in the fields. I mean, so it is a nice coin. These typically I would be comfortable paying between $3,000 and $4,000 for this. I mean, this is a stretch example, but if you sent this to NGC, it's coming back clipped, and they'll probably look at it in the fields and be like, "Oh, there's some mini scratches in there," and it'll come back brushed. And then if you're gonna flip it to Heritage and you put it in that auction with a clipped and a brush thing, you'll be lucky to get half of what you just paid for it at $5,500. I can see why it went for that much money because I think that the style is exceptional. But yeah, it's more than I probably would have paid for it. But it is a really, really nice bust. Lot 932 is an Anastasius the second Solidus, 4.4 grams. They said good, very fine on this. Let's take a look. Nice portrait on this. Lot of there's like a lot of issues on. There's definitely some superficial graffiti on here, which is kind of cool actually. It looks like somebody was writing out some sort of story or like cave painting on. I don't know. It's crazy. But I thought that this actually went for a decent price for what it was. Yeah, it's nice, nice enough. But $1,700, I think you got a good buy. If you need an Anastasia second, these can be very expensive and they can be very rare. I think you got a good one for this. Yeah, and it's a slightly small flan. Um, and I think maybe you could clean it up a little bit if you wanted to, but I think that this is a nice coin. Let's take a look at the video. I'm curious. Yeah, so the strike looks really nice on that when they showed the video. It's almost like a toning on it that is. I mean, it seems like it's been on the ground for quite a long time. Maybe it's from an old collection. Um, yeah, I mean, it's got some wear on it for sure, and some issues, but I think that I think that that was a pretty good pickup at $1,700. Lot 933, Leo the Fourth, with Constantine the Sixth, Leo the Third, and Constantine the Fifth Solidus, 19.5 millimeters, 4.4 grams. This was a really nice example. Typically on these, at least one of the portraits has got some sort of problem with it. This strike is outstanding, and the condition on this is outstanding. And it got an outstanding price. 47.50 is a exceptionally strong price for this coin. Typically you see them go between $1,500 and $2,500, but again, they typically have something wrong with the face or there's a weak strike. This is a very, very nice example. Um, so it was, I can understand why the price went so high because they just quality wise, they don't come like that very often. Lot 934 is a Constantine the Sixth and Irene. There's two of these coming up, Lot 934 and Lot 935. Both of them are comparable coins. They're both full weight. They're both on decent sized flans. I think Lot 935 was the slightly better of the two because it had the better portrait of Irene and Constantine the Sixth. Both of them hammered for 3250, and that's both where sort of they should have gone for. I mean, maybe it was both, maybe it was a little high, um, but these typically go for between, uh, I would say between $2,000 and $4,000, two and maybe $3,500. So um, they both hammered for the same amount. Lot 936 is a John Zimiskis Histomenon Nomisma, 22 millimeters, 4.41 grams. Good, very fine. This hammered for $3,000. These are rarer coins. You don't see them as often. Um, and this example, this example is pretty nice. I would say good, very fine as well on it. I think that's what they did too. Yeah, good, very fine. Um, so $3,000, I feel like is a pretty strong price for that, but that's what they're getting these days. Let's see, lot 937, Basil II. This is an extremely rare variety. It is a histamine nomisma, 4.23 grams. I think that Fue cited only one of these examples. This went for a strong price at 7,750. There was another Basil II to Tartaron that was plated in Fue, and that went for 4,500. I got to be honest, I think that the Tartaron, that's the plate coin, I expected that to go between $5,000 and $6,000, and I expected the Basil II with the rare variety, lot 937, to go closer to 5,000. But the prices were sort of flipped on this. Um, so it's a super rare variety, and it commanded a pretty big premium for that. The Basil II to Tartaron. This has pedigree to 1993 to a Bank Loy Numismatica Arts Classica sale in 1993 that had a famous Byzantine selection. And it's plated in Fue, and there's only two of them. So I expected this to go higher. And it went for a little bit less. And maybe, I mean, that's sort of the danger when you have two of the same emperor, even though they're not the same type in the same auction. You get one, and then all of a sudden, one of the bidders that might have been on the other one sort of falls out because they got the other one, right? But both rare coins, both really nice, and I think decent prices, certainly more than decent for 937. Lot 939 was a Tartaron nomisma of Michael the Seventh Ducas with Maria. This, I believe, had a pretty significant flan crack in it. Yeah, it did. Uh, Even with that flan crack, I mean, that flan crack, yeah, it went for $1,200 still. Even with that flan crack looks like if that thing dropped, it would split in half. Cracks for me are typically hard passes. Because you go to sell them, that's the first thing anybody's going to look at. But it's still got a $1,200 bid on it. I mean, and it was a nice strike, nice portrait of the Virgin Mary, you know, for the type. It looks a little more silver than gold. Obviously, it's at this point they're calling it gold, but at this point the mixture is probably less than 50%. I don't know what the actual mixture was, but it looks more silver. There's a couple late Byzantine stuff. Lot 940 was a John the Third Ducas Vatatzes, Emperor of Nicaea. Trekkie, they had an estimate of 1,000 on it, only sold for $750. And then lot 941 was an Andronicus II Pelelogos with Andronicus III Basilicon. Um, they call this unique. This sold for $5,500, so this got quite a bid. Another unique trachea was Andronicus the second Paleologus. This is lot 942. And that sold for $2,000, even though a big chunk of it's out of the coin. And then there was an extremely rare Paleologan weight of Andronicus the second that sold for $1,100. And so, some of these can command quite a premium. I mean, I know there's a lot of rarities in late Byzantine, and there's a lot of misattributed stuff in late Byzantine. It's not my forte, so to speak, but it's an area where you can find some real rarities for sure. Last part of the Byzantine sale, and then I want to talk about two coins from the early medieval barbarian section. The Constantine the 11th Stavraton from Constantinople Mint. It's in an NGC AU 3 of 5, 3 of 5 holder. It sold for $60,000. This is, the last ancient coin. I've talked about this many times. These coins do nothing for me. I think it's mostly hype you're buying here. Um, I could see maybe if it was like, okay, these are rare. We found like 80 of them in a hoard in the late 70s and it's $3,000. Okay, maybe that makes sense. I don't know. 60 grand for this, and I know that's what they get. I get it. Everybody wants the last ancient coin, right? These are big crossover coins. So if you're showing off your collection, you've got Greek, Roman, and maybe a handful of Byzantine, but you got one of these because then you can say I own the last ancient coin. But is it really the last ancient coin? I mean, there was successor states that went on for 30 or 40 years after the fall of Constantinople. But yeah, $60,000 for that. Looks great, doesn't it? I wanted to talk about lot 946. This is Ostrogothic, Theodahad. Don't know a lot about these things. When it comes to barbarian coinage, especially Ostrogothic imitations, I am definitely a learner. I need to learn more about that kind of stuff. But I saw this after the fact, and this is from 534. It's 40 Numi. It sold for $4,500. It has a pedigree to 1907 to Canessa in 1907, which is outstanding. And look at it, it's just a beautiful looking coin for the type. So I figured I'd highlight it. It's fascinating. I was looking at maybe trying to bid on this, but I mean, it went way over what I could pay for it. I mean, it had an estimate of $1,500 on it, but clearly, two people wanted it, and but what amazing pedigree on a bronze coin. And let's see, the other one I wanted to talk about was this one. This is a Avar imitative solidus of Heraclius and his son Constantine III. It's pedigreed to 1922, so it's got an outstanding pedigree, and it was also in the important collection of Byzantine coins from Sotheby's in 1998. And it sold at CNG in 1999. I was watching this one. I think that $4,500 is right where it should have landed. Um, I would have liked to have bought this one, but I couldn't. I can't buy them all, unfortunately. I really wish I could. Um, but this is a nice example and has outstanding pedigree. So that wraps up Triton 29. I also had up the e-sale coming up here. The e-sale is basically the overflow of coins coming in for Triton. They put them into session 6, and they call it still part of Triton, but it's not part of the printed catalog. And it is, it's typically not the A quality coins on things, but you can still find some amazing things in these. these lots. So I'll go through a couple of things that looked interesting. There's a couple of Anastasiuses that are pretty decent. Uh, this Anastasius, the first a light Milleranzi from Thessalonica, is very rare. It's already at $1,900. Um, you just don't ever see these. So that's a fascinating coin right there. I don't know where it's going to go. I don't know these coins at all, but they say fewer than approximately 20 examples known. It's really cool. So we'll see where this ends up landing. See, there's a Justinian. This one, lot 6401. Outstanding strike, superb. They wrote an outstanding strike, one of the finest that this cataloger has ever encountered. And it is, I mean, that portrait is tight. I mean, that's from a very fresh dye. There's no doubt about it. My issue with it is that there is a lot of weakness at, between, let's say, 4 and 7 o'clock at the bottom that sort of creeps into the portrait. Um, and then the reverse is on the weaker side too. But it is really a nice strike. This is at $1,400. Now, this is a common coin. Justin II is a common coin. Again, you can get a really good example for like $1,000. So it's up over that right now. I'm sure it'll maybe even go higher. But if you want a Justin II, you can probably get one cheaper. Lot 6402. They said very rare lightweight solidus. And is this OB? If it's OB plus star, it is a very rare lightweight solidus. Um, if it's OB star plus star, it is not very rare. Let me see what they've got it here. So they've got it OB star plus star. Yeah. And it's at 600. There's not, I mean, if it's just a standard 22 silica solidus. Now the eye there might make it something else. Let's see. Did they mention the eye? An eye to left. Okay. Hmm. All right. I was about to really kind of trash this coin. Um, because I mean, look at all the graffiti and everything, but the eye in the field, that is different. Hmm. Interesting. So $650. We'll see where it goes. I mean, the coin is pretty beat up, but yeah, we'll keep an eye on this one. Let's see. Well struck broad flan. This was interesting. This Tiberius II half siliqua from Carthage. It's a really nice example, but I mean, it's a nicely struck example. I don't know condition wise if it's all that nice, but in the description, I mean, they say it's crystallized and very fragile. I don't know that I would pull the trigger on this if it was crystallized because something could happen and the coin shatters and then you're out. I mean, that coin's gone. But it is really rare and a nice strike. And it's at $1,000. We'll see what happens on it. Um, hmm. We got an extremely rare Officina from Maurice. Let's see what that's all about. Lot 6409. This is from the sixth Officina, unlisted as recently as MIBE, none in coin archives. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it's a rare Officina. It's a pretty ugly coin. What is that at? $700? Be interesting to see where that goes. And lot 6410. This is interesting. This coin, I mean, it's got a style that, you know, based on the style, some people attribute these to Antioch, others attribute them to Constantinople, and they make note of that in here. This is Exlans from 2008. that, a lot of the academics who have written books on this go back and forth and disagree whether this is a Constantinople mint or an Antioch example. Um, it's all over the place on that. I don't think there's enough really to say that this is anything but Constantinople based on the style, but um, I mean nobody really knows on this. I mean, a lot of this stuff is either based on if they can find a coin with a similar die style that has a marking that says Antioch, so let's say bronze or something along those lines, and they can kind of trace the styles back, or if they're finding them in hoards in different places with those coins. That's how they're doing attributions. Nobody really knows. I mean, and these guys spend a lot of time on this, and they're putting theories out, and theories are good, and you back them up with facts and stuff, but for some of these coins, like there are stuff with like Focus, Maurice, um, Maurice especially, sometimes others that, nobody, they'll say uncertain mints or uncertain military mint, or, you know, is this Thessalonica question mark, and so it's interesting. It's an interesting sort of, the more time you spend on this kind of stuff, the more, um, you can kind of find things to back up your theories on things. This is at 850 right now. We'll see where this goes, but it's a nice example and full weight. Continuing on through here, nothing's really. This is a rare lightweight issue, lot 6415, Hercules and his son Constantine III. This is a BO double X in the Exerg issue. That's a siliqua of 20, sorry, a lightweight solidus of 20 siliqua. Rare types, you don't see them come up that often. Again, coin's pretty beat up, but it is very rare. And it's probably, yeah, it's already at 950. I My guess is this lands someplace around 12. I'll throw that out there. I don't know. Rare coordination issue of Heraclius and Heraclius Constantine. This is a 1/3 siliqua from Carthage, 14 millimeters, zero point 0.7 grams. Too small for me. It's already at 850. That's pretty nice though, for sure, for the type. There is, let's see, a rare variety. This is 6418 Constance II Semesis from Syracuse. It's a nice example. A little off center, but a good strike, and it's a rare variety with the ICK on here. Um, I expect that this will do a little bit better than 650. I think it'll probably land at 1,000, maybe 1,200, 1,000 to 1,200. And there's another excessively rare late Roman mint issue of Constance II. This is an eighth siliqua, 30 numi, zero point 0.23 grams. It's from that same hoard. This is the only one of these known, I think. And of course, Constance II was the last Roman emperor to visit Rome. And he was on campaign in Italy after things had sort of calmed down a little bit with the caliphate. He went on campaign in Italy, was famous for being the last Roman emperor to visit Rome. He also, I think he had a pope previous to his visit arrested and banished to Sherzan in the Crimea. So Byzantines still had quite a bit of influence in the Italian peninsula, and they controlled, um, I think, up to Rome and still Ravenna. But he had famously stripped all the copper from the roof of the Pantheon to melt down to make coins. It's this is a rare type. It's at $1,100. I expect that this will go higher. I mean, given the fact that the one in Triton went for 8,500, if you can get this one cheap, maybe it's gonna be a steal. I don't know. I'll keep an eye on it. See what happens. So bronze Irene 6421. I already got a bit of 750 on this. Bronze continues to be nice. Bronze continues to be highly in demand, and I don't even know that I would call that a nice bronze. I mean, it's you've got a portrait of Irene, and it is well centered, but condition wise, it's a little porous. It looks like this one really surprises me. They put end of Byzantine coinage in Syracuse in a rare emission. Um, this is a Semesis. It's debased. I don't know about why they're calling it a rare emission if there's something about this that makes this rare that I'm not seeing. These you could used to be able to get for like $300 or $400, and they were debased, and they're fairly common. Again, I don't know what I don't want to sit here and be like these are common if this is a rare emission that I'm missing something at. Um, but $1,600 feels like a heavy bid for this. I could be wrong, but if you're looking for one of these, if you're buying it based on the fact that this is the last Byzantine coinage at Syracuse, there's a fair amount of these out there now. If you're bidding on it or buying it because there's something very rare about this type, like an Officina thing or something along those lines that I'm missing, that's a different story. But if you're just buying it because it's the last emission from Syracuse, you're overpaying. Really surprised this is $1,600. Another Tatartaron of John the First Zimiskis. This is at 2250. These are rare. Tatartarons are rare for these emperors. And this is in pretty good shape. I mean, it's toned. It's got some toning on it, but this is typically what you see for the type. I expect that this will go higher. Romanus the Third. This is at $1,300. This is lot 6425, 4.41 grams, so it's full weight. Nice portrait of the Emperor and the Virgin Mary. The portrait of Christ is a little on the weaker side. But yeah, these have gone up quite a bit. These used to be very common, but I've noticed that quality examples are commanding a premium these days. Let's see. This Alexius is interesting. It's lot 6428. This is a Histamina non numisma from Thessalonica. This is mostly silver at this point, but what a nice strike on this. What a nice example. This is quality. I'm surprised they didn't put this in the actual printed sale. It's already at $1,900. Clearly, other people have seen that it's quality as well, and it's got a knack provenance from 2021 and a Nomos provenance from 2011. Andronikos Kominos. This is X Kona 37. Again, this has got a pretty significant flan crack in it. It's a nice strike, nice portraits, but those flan cracks, they're a non-starter for me. I can't get past it. It's at 450 right now. I mean, nice examples of these can go for big money. I think that's all I'm going to look at from the Triton E sale. That's going off in another day. So we'll keep an eye out and see where the hammers land on some of these things. But some fascinating coins, and CNG always has such a great selection of coins. They really are the powerhouse in the industry, as far as ancients go, and unslabbed ancients. I mean, they really get great stuff, and they put out great catalogs, and they're great to work with. So, congratulations to CNG on a another successful Triton sale. Before we wrap, I want to look at a few other coins that hammered recently in other auctions, some of them in the New York auctions. This was lot 857 on the Numitra auction that I saw. I really like this coin. It's a really nice example. I know I'm not as strong with bronze as I am with gold, and I think I've mentioned that many times. But I've talked to a number of people who are strong in bronze. I'd like to try and do a bronze episode if I can coordinate a time with some of the bronze experts that are out there to jump on and talk about some of the AE coinage, the Byzantine AE coinage. I mean, it's fascinating because it changed so much emperor to emperor. You know, the gold solidus stayed the gold solidus, right? They never debased that for quite a long time, and when they did, they ran into a lot of trouble. Um, but the sort of the idea was that you kept the gold, and that was the gold standard. But with the AEs, it was reformed all the time, and there was different ways to do an exchange for the AEs versus the gold that the state could make money at doing that on the exchange rates on stuff. So sometimes you had big bronze coins, sometimes you had very small bronze coins being functioning as a phallus. It's really interesting to see emperor to emperor how that changed over time. So yeah. This is an Anastasius the First phallus. This is 35 millimeters, 18.57 grams, and the eyes on this are really interesting as well as the portrait. This went for 160 euro. I think that's a good buy at that price. Another coin I wanted to look at. This is from the Stax Bowers auction. This is a Justinian II first reign solidus, 4.32 grams. I did look at this in person. The flan is actually pretty good size on it. And you can see that here when you look at it in the slab. It's a pretty good size flan, which is kind of nice because sometimes the flans can be on the smaller side. But you know, it has die shift, clipped, scuffs, and brush. I mean, it's like they need to get a bigger tag so that they can put all the silly things that they put in on there on it. And then they graded it 205 and 205. I'm not saying that they're wrong with the die shift or the scuffs or the brushed or the clipped. I'm just saying that I feel like that should be just reflected in the grade and just move on. But NGC has their own way of doing things, and they've made a lot of money doing it. So who am I to criticize and argue? But these coins have been commanding a significant premium as of late. Even really poor examples, and I don't think that this is a poor example. Now, the photographs, I don't think this photographed very well, but I don't think this is a poor example. I've seen these going for, dealers selling these for double, sometimes even in some cases 2.5 times what this hammered for. Um, and you got a good portrait of Christ here. You got, eyes with a lot of detail on it that I mean, that's always one of the things I look at in portraits is how did the eyes look? Because the eyes communicate a lot of character on the portrait. It's double struck on the reverse. You can see an Officina letter, which is rare. So, at any rate, $3,100. If you bought this coin, you did really well. Next up, this is another Justinian II Solidus from the second reign. This is in a mint state 405, surface 405 holder. No notations on it. I'm shocked that they didn't give this a clip notation at a 4.4 gram weight, but they're able to see the edges. I'm not in the slab. This coin, they had a stupid estimate on this. They had an estimate of between $4,000 and $8,000, which seems ridiculous. Now these have gone up quite a bit. Um, but I think given the fact that it's in a holder with no notations, it got some interest. Full disclosure, I bought this coin. I bought it because I knew that there was some significant unknown pedigree on it. I have pedigree back to an Arts Classica auction in 1925 and pedigree to Glendining's 1958, which was the Dumbarton Oaks duplicates collection. So this is got pedigree to 1925 and it's ex Dumbarton Oaks. I think that's pretty cool. So I paid up for it. Unfortunately, because I think it was in the wrong holder. I think if it had said clipped, I think I would have gotten this for $1,500 cheaper. Um, which is insane to me because literally it's a judgment call on the grader who decides to put this up on there, and then that drives the price action on it. But that's where we are. Next up, this was a Michael II Solidus, but this is one of the real rarities in the Byzantine series. This is an early Solidus of Michael II, featuring portraits of himself on both sides of the coin. There's probably seven of these known and four in private hands. This has pedigree to the Driesman collection, um, Dr. Anton Driesman collection, um, that Spink did in 2000. And this was one of the coins featured on the front cover of the auction. It also has pedigree to a Bank Loy auction in 1979. This is a tremendous rally. Their estimate was right on at 15 to $30,000, and this went at the opening bid for $9,000. And this is a great buy. This is a great buy because I think some of the other ones that have auctioned over the years, and they don't come up almost ever, but they've commanded 25 to $30,000. So, great buy. Next up, we have a Solidus of Leo V and his son. Uh, I think it's Constantine. I can't remember his son's name. Anyway, it's a Leo V Solidus. Um, and this is a nice example. I looked at this one. This is a nice example in hand. This went for $2,200. That's a good price for that. This should have hammered for like three to 3,500, in my opinion. So if you got this one, you got this one at a good price. And, you've got stuff here. It's brushed with edge marks. And there's some weakness in his son's portrait on the reverse, but if you bought this coin, you got a good deal. And then this is a lightweight Solidus. I like the strike on this, and you have OB star plus star. Again, these are common, uh, but this is a nice one. But this sold for like $600. That's like melt. It's a little more. It's a little more than melt because it's 4.04 grams. But you could pick up a really nice example of this. This was at Concordia Numismatics, lot 777. If you wanted a nice example of this, 600 euro, that's a good price. This was in the New York sale. This was an Anastasius, the first Solidus. What's cool about this, and I'm sort of, I guess I sort of missed this one. This wasn't on my radar, but it's the cross in the field makes it very rare. This is a plate coin from Guy Lacombe in Civilization and Money, Byzantine. Um, and it's also was in the famous NFA 18 sale from 1987, which was a famous sale of coins of late Roman and Byzantine coins. It also has a pedigree to Hesse in 1971. A true rarity of the Anastasius type. $4,500, you know, I think that's probably what it should have gotten. I could see it actually getting more. So, but a rare type with that cross in the field, and I think it's a one-off type or a one-off die type that they did, and then they didn't do it again. So, um, and for who knows what reason, we just don't know. But it's a very rare variety. Um, Another Anastasius, this one from Thessalonic, but another rare variety with the double stars in the field on the reverse. This is X Triton 3, X Sternberg 1983. So it's got pretty good pedigree there, and that went for $2,700. I thought that was a good price for this. I think that this should have gone a little bit higher. I mean, the quality is it's okay. I mean, and it's in a Choice AU 505, 205, hollow clips, marks, edge bends. So they had all sorts of notations on it. But um, I think that this was gotten at a pretty good price for the type. and the rarity of the type with the 2 stars. Finally, last one I wanted to talk about was this Justinian, the first Solidus, at 4.42 grams. This was in a Choice AU 505 Surface 205 holder, Mark's Edge Bends. This type is not from Constantinople. This type originally was attributed to Ravenna, and then in MIBE, they changed it based on analysis of the Monte Giudica hoard that was found in Sicily, and they attribute it to Sicily. Now, there is no 6-point star on. Some of these have 6-point stars, some of them don't. The 6-point stars usually denote an Italian mint. It's the small officina letter here at the end of the legend, as well as the bust style that shows that it is a Sicilian or a Ravenna admission. Han, like I said, revises the Ravenna attribution and puts it in Sicily, but I've seen these attributed to Ravenna still, and in this case, they're just calling it Constantinople. If you bought this at $700, you got to steal because I mean that is legit hammering $50 over melt right now. So for a premium of $50, now granted you still got to pay the buyer's premium, you can buy this really nice coin, pop it out of that holder. Frankly, I would try to clean it up a little bit because it looks like it would clean up pretty well. There's a little dye rust and stuff in the portrait, but and you have a provincial mint Justinian the first Solidus that will probably clean up nice. That's full weight, and you got it for a hammer of $50 over melt. If you bought this, you rule. That's a nice pickup right there. I mean, it's some, the I don't know that there's a huge premium put on the fact that these are from Sicily or were originally attributed to Ravenna. Sometimes that's interesting. Other times people just don't care. But it's not your run of the mill Constantinople issue. It is a provincial mint. So nice buy. So that's going to wrap up episode 23 of the Byzantine Coin Podcast. I appreciate everybody listening. I appreciate all the great feedback that I get online and in person. It was so good seeing many of you at New York International. And I hope to see you all there in the future shows that come up in New York. It is my favorite show for sure. And thank you for listening. And we'll talk to you on episode 24. Take care.